Hey guys, Dr. Holly here, and I am bringing you tip number 6 on how to stop the quarantine 15. And tip number 6 is one of my favorites. It's something we use in Stay to Slim all the time. It's something that's, I think, important, especially when we're stressed, especially when we're going through a pandemic. And in addition, I think it's something that can help stop the quarantine 15. So what is tip number 6? Fill your cup. But the caveat, and it's an important one, not with food. So what does that mean? What does fill your cup mean? When I'm talking about your cup, I'm actually talking about an emotional cup. So to fill your cup, it means to do something that brings you joy, that brings you happiness, that brings you contentment and peace, that brings you those positive emotions. Do something that makes you feel good. In a sense, it's emotional self-care, taking care of yourself. Super important when we're going through a pandemic, super important when we're having a lot of stress because it tends to use up our cup. We tend to spend our cup, right? We tend to use the cup, stuff that's in our cup. So we got to make sure we're filling it. I know that people with emotional resiliency tend to do this. This is a strategy they use all the time. They use it to get through the tough parts, to bend and not break. Huge thing that we all need right now. We're all going through a tough time right now. We all want to bend and not break. And I think fill your cup, do emotional self-care is one way to do that. In addition, how does it stop the quarantine 15? Well, I think for a lot of people, when their cup is empty, when they haven't been doing that emotional self-care, they turn to food. That tends to be what they do. I know sometimes maybe you've been in a situation where something happened. It was pretty little, like someone said something to you, and normally you would have just let that go. You would have handled it in a different way, but you went crazy. You went off on them, or you went and ate everything in your refrigerator. You had a big reaction. That's a sign that your cup was empty. You weren't able to bend. You weren't able to take the stressor. It just broke you in that moment. We don't want that to happen because so many times, especially with my weight fighters, especially with the people who struggle with their weight, they tend to turn to food. They tend to get off plan at least. And what we're wanting to do is be consistently on plan during this pandemic, during this social distancing. So filling your cup is a way to stay on plan. It's a way to keep you bending and not breaking. It's a way for you to get through this and still be doing what you want to do, eating properly, doing your exercising, keeping your mindset right. Part of doing that is filling your cup, doing that emotional self-care. And you've got to do it ahead of things that happen, right? Ahead of the curve, so to speak. You don't know what's coming. I kind of think of it like filling your car with gasoline. You know, you never let your car get on empty because you don't know when the next snowstorm is coming, right? You never know when something like that might happen, or you never know when you might get stuck in traffic. And you want to have your cup full. You want to have your gas tank full. Same thing. You don't know what stressors are coming your way. We know we have a lot of stressors, but you don't know what's coming. You want to keep that emotional tank full so you can take it, so you can handle it, so you can react in a positive way, so you don't break, so you don't go into that refrigerator and eat everything in sight and throw up your hands and say, I'm done. That's what we want to avoid. That's why I think it's so important, not only during this pandemic, but also during this time when we're trying to stop that quarantine 15. So how do you do this? Well, you got to think about it. You got to think about what can you do that makes you feel good, that can give you some joy, some peace, some love. And I know it may be right now there's a lot of things that you normally would do that would keep your cup full that you can't do. Maybe you can't go and play in the park with your grandkids, or maybe you can't go to concerts outside with your friends. We're all different in terms of what fills our cup. But right now it's about thinking about what can I do right now in this situation? What can I do every day to keep my cup full so that when these emotionally stress times and stressors happen to us, I have something in my reserve. So for me, listening to music is a big one. I also love to read. I love to do candles, all kinds of things like that. Even cooking sometimes can be a fill my cup. But it's really, really unique to you. What can you do right now that's going to keep you emotionally strong so you can handle the bumps, so you can handle the stressors, so you can stay on track? Such a key for us all, but such a key especially in trying to prevent that quarantine 15. So here's a bonus. I decided I was going to give you a bonus assignment, something that actually will do two things instead of one. I call it a twofer. So one of the challenges I'm going to have you do this week is when you feel yourself emotionally charged, when an emotion happens, and so many of us would tend to eat for an emotion. Maybe not all of us, but we all tend to eat. Sometimes it's for good emotions, for happiness, but a lot of times it's when we're bored. Well, I think we can relate to that happening somewhat. We're bored, or we're anxious, or we're overwhelmed. I think we could kind of relate to that, or maybe we're lonely. That may be when we turn to food. But we all tend to turn to food, especially people who fight their weight, for some reason. So I want you to be aware this week when you find yourself in front of the refrigerator, when you find yourself wanting to eat something that you hadn't planned on eating, when you find yourself, in that situation, what is that emotion that you're feeling? That's a great awareness. And what I want you to do about it is I want you, instead of eating, I want you to fill your cup. I want you to already think about what can I do in that situation instead of going to food, which isn't going to get me where I want to go, right? Isn't going to be a positive way for me to react. Instead of going for food, I want to recognize I'm feeling this way. It's an emotion. What can I do instead of eating? And I want you to fill your cup. Do something that brings you joy. Do something that makes you happy. Do something that brings you and puts you at peace. That's a twofer, right? Not only are you not eating for emotional reasons that aren't healthy and perhaps aren't getting you where you want to go, you're actually filling your cup. So the next time you face an emotional situation, you can bend and not break. You can stay on track. So I hope that's helpful. I would love to hear what each and every one of you are doing to fill your cup. It's such an important thing, whether you're trying to lose weight or maintain weight, if you're just trying to get through the situation. But specifically, if you're trying to stop that quarantine 15, use it strategically. Make sure you're keeping your cup full and then fill your cup at the moments you're wanting to eat for an emotion. All right, I love you guys. Please let me know how you're doing, and I will see you soon. Bye.